Welcome to the latest of my inside tracks. Today I'm going to take a look at the journey of the lovely, luscious Venus through the sign of Pisces, which begins on February the 10th, just in time for Valentine's Day on the 14th. So why is Venus in Pisces such a lovely possibility? Well, it's because Venus is exalted here. What is an exaltation? I'm going to share that with you too. And why is the host, Pisces, a particularly potentially positive place for Venus to thrive? Because it's the 12th zodiac sign, and the 12th zodiac sign can be a time of deep reflection. We could even find ourselves thinking about someone from our past. For some people, there may be a connection to someone in a low-key, even non-verbal way. So look out for people's body language if you are wanting to get to know somebody new. But for 26 days through to March the 6th, Venus is going to be making her way through this sign for the first time in 11 months. But the most crucial thing, as ever, is not just looking at Venus in Pisces per se, it's understanding what's going on at the exact moment she arrives. And the only way we can do that is to erect a natal chart. So it's exactly the same as a birth chart. So when we come into this world at that exact time, all those planetary positions give us our unique individuality, which of course is affected by genetics, it is affected by our environment, and it can be influenced by things we inherit as well. But the astrology is very powerful, and I'm going to show you what this particular Venus in Pisces transit is about, because it's not necessarily going to be straightforward, but it's also going to be a supreme irony with this transit this year. Stay with me as I share the event chart, also share about that exaltation, and I'm also going to share with you the supreme irony of what happens when Venus comes to the end of her journey in the sign of Pisces. So please stay with me. I'm also going to tell you the exact influences that Venus will forge, the aspects in that journey. There is a brilliant one towards the end of February, which can be extremely fortunate, but we got to look at the wider lens. There is another aspect going on at that time that actually can be incredibly turbulent. What's that about? I'm going to unpack all of this for you. Please stay with me to the end of the video, because I'm going to give you the opportunity to get something totally unique for you that's also deeply insightful. And then I'll share a little bit of a flavour for each of the 12 zodiac signs, just some standout details quickly, because understanding the context of planets moving through particular zodiac signs is actually much more powerful than just being focused on our zodiac sign. And I think that's the thing to really adhere to. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. Thank you so much for joining me. All your views, interactions, likes and comments are truly appreciated. If you're new here, welcome. If you've yet to subscribe, please help the channel to continue to thrive, and do so now. Let's just think about the archetypes of Venus herself. She rules 2 zodiac signs. The earthy Taurus, which is very sensual, can be to do with foundations, money, but also our sense of self-worth and value. And then we have the rulership of Libra, which is to do with how we relate, where we're gracious in our interactions, where we bring a greater sense of harmony. So Venus can be the planet of peace, for sure, but it can, of course, also be deeply seductive. And how's it going to play out in the sign of Pisces? Well, Pisces, the host, being the 12th zodiac sign, is of course a water sign, and therefore it has a mesmeric quality, and in some ways I feel it's quite a mysterious energy. but it's amplified in a positive way when we're lucky enough to be connecting to people who understand atmosphere. So if there's someone you're enjoying the company of at the moment, and it could be a friend, it may be around a shared interest, particularly anything to do with the arts or creativity or film, because the sign of Pisces is very much to do with that. So if you enjoy going to a film club, watching the movie, going for a drink or a coffee afterwards, talking it all through with your friends, that's beautiful for Venus in Pisces. It's sociable, but there's also a creative dimension to it. But in terms of relationships, I think it's vitally important that we understand the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. And I think one of the things that turns people off about Valentine's Day is all the publicity around it and the way it's pushed. If you're not in a relationship, it can feel very excluding, somewhat isolating, and it also can be promoted about all the people who've got these amazing relationships. Well, the truth is that even good relationships need a lot of work, and also a lot of empathy and understanding for the things that we might not align so well on. And that's important to understand. So with Valentine's Day coming up, if you're not in a relationship, just remember you are with yourself, and you're becoming more conscious with Venus in Pisces, we all are, of the value of the more psychological connections we have. So we don't always have to talk it through with the people we feel comfortable with, because we just sense that. And that's very Venus in Pisces, I feel. But essentially, it can be a time when we're more romantic, our imagination may be aroused. And if you are someone who likes to watch rom-coms or read books with a romantic dimension, for sure, that's absolutely lovely. And if you have got Venus in Pisces, you may be someone who can be very self-sacrificing to the person you really love, but that does also leave you potentially a little bit vulnerable to being somewhat taken for granted, that more sacrificing spirit that you have, really understanding about true love, but it has to be respected, and that can be more difficult to achieve. Also, because of the more distorting energies that we can get through the ruler Neptune and the more exaggerating energies of Jupiter in the sign of Pisces, that can also mean that if we get into a connection with someone and we really feel it, if there isn't an honesty about that, that can see us be a little bit tricked, which of course can lead to great hurt and great disappointment. So if there is someone that you're drawn to over the next 26 days through to March the 6th, who isn't incredibly upfront, doesn't answer messages quickly, doesn't answer questions that are perfectly innocent in a clear way, do keep your guard up a little bit. But what about this exaltation? Well, in astrology we have something called essential dignities, and planets can shine in certain zodiac signs but find it more difficult in others. So the reason that Venus loves being in the sign of Pisces is because it's opposite a sign where it's in its fall, and also is detrimented, which is Virgo. And the reason for that is the Virgo can be a little bit focused on details, maybe somewhat critical, maybe even a little bit reserved and shy about showing affection, whereas the much more wholehearted energy of Pisces can really bring out that more loving vibe. Now, let's just think about the other essential dignities for Venus, because of course it rules the sign of Taurus, it rules the sign of Libra, so therefore when it moves into Aries on March the 6th, it will be in detriment, so that is something to be mindful of. So let's take a look at that event chart. Now I've constructed this using the Zodiac approach, so the nominal first house is Aries, because that's where the start of the journey begins, and we do have Neptune, ironically, the modern aquatic ruler of the sign of Pisces, just having moved on the 26th of January back into Aries, had that brief visit last year, 6 months, and it's going to be joined by Saturn, of course, on the 14th next week. But what we do have as Venus pitches up, you can see, is it's very close to the path of fortune. And that's why the financial side of Venus is important to consider, because maybe it's around the more sensory dimension of work, or anything that is a creative artifact. So it could be a painting, it could be a piece of music, it could be by performance, it may be through writing something, particularly with Mercury in the sign of Pisces, along with the North Node. Our imaginations can really explode. So don't be surprised if we all have some very vivid dreams in the next few weeks. And they don't have to be bad ones, of course, because the Sun's going to be joining up with these three on the 18th. So that brings an even more potentially enchanting phase. But the other thing to consider is that Venus is therefore coming into the 12th zodiac sign, which can be to do with releasing what's not working. And the intriguing thing, if we look at the position of the moon, just in the free-spirited adventurous sign of Sagittarius, and the position of Uranus, they're essentially, or Venus is essentially T-square in both those positions. So the tension that Venus has been creating over the last few days in the square with Aquarius comes into this event. Now, in a very positive way, in a long-standing relationship that perhaps has become a little bit too mundane, it's a prompt to inject the connection with more romance and do things more spontaneously, Uranus, to try to reignite that flame of passion that was there at the beginning. But because Uranus is about freedom and the moon in Sagittarius is very much about space, if there is a relationship that is crowding your style and you're not really enjoying it, at the very least you may find yourself, even with the run up to Valentine's Day, wanting to just spin out a little bit, have some moments of reflection, let things really settle within yourself to understand whether this is a tie you want to continue to invest in. And at the most extreme, it could be a relationship coming to a close, sadly. And we do have Mars, the planet of desire, in the friendly Aquarius, along with Pluto and the Sun, and therefore it's entirely possible that being with our friends at the moment may appeal to us more than spending time in a relationship that's draining, perhaps has some jealousy or possessiveness, which the moon in Sagittarius and Uranus will resist, or perhaps it's to do with different financial values. Now, the supreme irony that I spoke of earlier, I'm going to tell you the outcome of that shortly. But just know that you do find yourself wanting that solitude and quiet times, particularly before the Sun arrives in the sign of Pisces. Just go with it, Sometimes it's important to give ourselves a little bit of moments for reflection, to meditate. But it's also possible, if you are going somewhere that's linked to the healing arts, a workshop, a retreat, somewhere where you're with other sensitive and like-minded people, there could be some kind of connection made that's very profound, maybe around values, maybe around the things you believe in. Maybe it could have a romantic dimension, but not necessarily has to, because Venus can be about those values as well as about attraction. Now, I mentioned before that we are going to have a very fortunate aspect upcoming towards the end of this month. But before then, we have Venus combining with the North Node. And that's exact on the 18th of February, but it is in play within 3 degrees, which I think is really important in terms of position, from the 15th to the 19th. If you did meet someone then, or reconnected with someone from your past, that you felt there was a fated dimension to that tie, or there was an encounter that was clandestine around then, it could be extremely powerful indeed. But what about that good fortune? Well, what it is that Venus is also known as the lesser benefit. That doesn't mean to say that Venus is less of a positive influence for that, but because it's in a trine, one of astrology's most enabling influences, with Jupiter, the greater benefit, exactly on February the 22nd, but building from the 20th before it comes to a close by a separation on the 25th, that can be a time of great fortune financially, but also around relationships. But just know in the final week of February, there is an extremely turbulent right angle between Mars and Uranus. Maybe it's going to be around the financial global system. We have seen devaluation with silver, gold. Now it's cryptocurrencies that are seeing their values come down very rapidly. Maybe the dollar has also devalued hugely as well, but equities still have been curiously very highly valued. There could be a shakeout, particularly if interest rates in some way come down. But the irony that I've mentioned is that as Venus is heading to the exit to move into the sign of Aries, where it is in that detriment, she's forging an amazing link with Uranus. So if you do break up with someone or leave something or give yourself more space to work out what you really want in terms of your alliances, and that can be around the family, it can be around friendships, interests, doesn't have to be, again, around romance. By the time that Venus gets to the end of her journey, she can actually give us all a lot more confidence to express ourselves in a free-spirited and very authentic way, because that's what Uranus is about. Uranus encourages us to get in touch with our higher truth. So even if you do go through some kind of separation or upset, or a past relationship comes up in a way which does cause some distress, just going through it, chatting it through, perhaps with a good friend, trusted confidant, even a counsellor. By the end of Venus's journey through the sign of Pisces, there is going to be a reward for sincerity. And sincerity is so important in relationships, because all of us have to bend into different things that the people we're really fond of have approaches to that don't quite align with ours, and that tolerance is something that Venus in Pisces can actually be very good for. But we shouldn't be too tolerant. It is still important to have boundaries. But I'm going to go through each of the signs now and just give you a quick flavour of finance and love for each. But if you've yet to watch your February deep dive monthly forecast for each of the zodiac signs, please see the end screen at the end of this video, and you can click on those and enjoy those. And please come to my website at patrickarundel.com. It's absolutely jam-packed with goodies, and you can also there download your free natal chart. But it's not just the wheel, it's an interpretation. And honestly, I've had people say to me, it's the best free natal chart they've ever had. So that's patrickarundel.com. We're really making progress on the website, so please join us for much more. It's very soul-led. I feel that some of the astrology and horoscope websites out there are very ubiquitous. You know, they're a bit samey. Ours very much to do with passion, because we live astrology day in, day out, and really love what we do. So, Aries, for you, I feel that there may be something to do with your past that's coming up for you. But also, if there's something you've worked very hard on in terms of a business situation, you're on the cusp now of deciding whether to work with it, continue to work with it, and really reap a reward, which you could do, or you may be deciding to start afresh. And in terms of a relationship that you're not quite so sure of, it is possible that something could completely finish. But no one's going to leave your life who's truly right for you. So Taurus, Venus is your gorgeous ruler. But over the last couple of years, with Saturn in Pisces for the most part, that's really been testing some of your friendships and alliances. Saturn moves, of course, on the 14th of February back into Aries, but that's a more psychological location. However, Venus moving into Pisces really is encouraging you to celebrate the things you have in common. We all have things different. Focus on the good bits, and there could be someone in your social circle that you really take a shine to. And when it comes to your work, any kind of collective effort can also be an area of positivity and possibility too. So Gemini, Venus joins up with your ruler Mercury in the most visible part of your horoscope. Charm will get you everywhere. You've been in the mood for changes recently. Is that true of your love life too? One of the things you may really desire is greater commitment from a partner. Taking that next step, moving in, renting or buying a property, actually getting spliced? Or is it the case that your ambitions mean the person you've been seeing at the moment doesn't quite meet your standard? That may be in the equation too. But if you are wanting to make progress around goals and ambitions, your people skills and diplomacy are going to be vital over the next 26 days. Cancer, when was the last time you had a holiday, even a weekend away, or perhaps a night out with your friends, doing something spontaneous, getting in touch with a part of your energy that's about discovery? It may be about an art gallery, it could be about the aforementioned film, play, going to see a band, but anything which livens up your senses, which Venus is very much involved with, is going to be very positive. In terms of a romantic dimension, you may want to give yourself space for something that's felt very intense recently. So I think some Cancer people may be wanting to have some time out, but that could be around your work or even a financial situation. If you're not really enjoying what you've been doing recently, the whole concept of freedom and independence are going to become much stronger as this month goes on, but particularly with the arrival of the Sun on the 18th into Pisces too. As we all know, variety is the spice of life, so whatever it is you're involved or interested in at the moment, that's going to be a central theme for you over these coming weeks. So Leo, things can get hot, hot, hot if you're happily involved in a close relationship, one that's pretty intimate. The more sensual and intimate dimension is something that really can call out to you. In terms of money, well, you could benefit from someone else's good fortune. Maybe also you're being considered in terms of a legacy that you're not even conscious of at this present time. So someone's generosity to you, it may happen over the next few weeks, but it may be that they're enshrining in some kind of document a reward for your faithful support and loyalty in the past. So Virgo, over the last couple of years, Saturn has been asking some searching questions as far as your relationships and of all kinds. But Saturn's also been encouraging you to be stronger in saying no, because you can be a real giver, and that's something that can get taken advantage of. But if you have experienced, frankly, some heartache, disappointment or sadness around a close relationship, the supreme celestial irony is that as Saturn is packing up, ready to leave and move back into the sign of Aries on the 14th of February, on Valentine's Day, Venus arrives to bring a completely different vibe, one of peace, one of harmony, and one of potential lovely connections. So if you are wanting to meet someone, I think as February goes on, some of the disappointments of the last few years, or just lessons, you can really receive your reward if you've used that energy of Saturn to evolve and understand perhaps how other people see you, be clearer about your needs, also more understanding of the needs of others too. So Libra, your ruler Venus moves into the part of your chart that's to do with practicalities, but the 6th house can also be to do with where we get fit. So if you find yourself at the aerobic group, the swimming pool, the gym, supermarket counter even, you could have a spontaneous connection with someone that proves to be really intriguing. In a long-standing relationship, a fairer division of the practical chores. So if you're doing too much, getting a partner through your diplomacy to pitch in a bit more. But equally, in terms of your professional role, Saturn over the last couple of years, along with Neptune, has seen you show enormous dedication. And I feel the respect people truly have for you is going to be amplified over the next few weeks. So Scorpio, Venus moves into the most romantic part of your scope. It's a wonderful time for you to just feel that passion and laughter and fun are what you deserve. You know, whether you are someone who's in a relationship or not, getting together with some friends, venturing out more, being a little bit bolder about the social milieu is something that really can bring extra spark and joy to your situation. But if you are in a relationship and it is going well, you have survived Saturn being in your fifth house over the last couple of years, and that's probably taken a lot of hard work. And there is the cluster of energy, including your two rulers, in the fourth house at the moment. So anyone that you feel really comfortable with in a more passionate and attractive way is probably someone you feel comfortable with at a more emotional level too. But Venus can also be about creativity, and if you've got talent and flair that isn't being expressed quite as fulsomely as it could, do so over the next few weeks. So Sagittarius, over the last couple of years, Saturn and Neptune, apart from their brief visit to Aries last year, have on the whole been asking some searching questions about what you want in terms of the emotional context of a relationship. And it hasn't been easy. There may have been times when you really prefer to be in watching TV and having comfort food. Totally understandable. But Venus moving into this part of your chart is in a way gently encouraging you to open up to the potential for love. And with Saturn and Neptune moving back into your fifth house, it doesn't mean to say that it's going to be served up easily, but it is possible for you over the next couple of years if you put the effort in, because Uranus is going to move back into your sector of relating. It was there for 4 months last year, and that can bring some very fast moving changes to your world. But I think this Venus transit is just encouraging you to trust that something good is possible. Now, if you are in an ongoing relationship that's pretty steady, anything of a decorative improvement over the next few weeks can definitely call out to you. Capricorn, Venus moves into the part of your chart which is going to see things speed up, particularly with Mercury there, and to be joined by the Sun on the 18th. And therefore, quick communications and therefore online dating could be an area of interest to you. Now, if that's not your cup of tea at all, anything to do with your local community, which is governed by the third house, may be where you can more comfortably get to know people, whether it's local choir, maybe fit club with swimming, whatever it is, where you can have just some friendly, easygoing conversation. That would be something that can really be very positive for you. But do know that someone could hang on your every word over the next few weeks. So Aquarius, with Venus moving into Pisces for you, it's an opportunity to feel better about your personal value and worth. Your physical finances can also improve too. Saturn, apart from those 13 or so weeks last year, has been creating a headwind in that area of your situation over the last 2 years or more. Neptune much more since 2012, and it may not have been easy during the intervening time, but with Saturn about to move, as this week draws to a close, just after Venus moves into Pisces, there can be a big shift which really can please you. But when it comes to dating, one of the great ways that you can enjoy the company of someone can be by sharing a lovely meal, appreciating some creature comforts. But if you have been on quite a strict diet since the turn of the year, so New Year's resolution could be tested by a desire and being drawn to sweeter, more calorific foods too. So Pisces, Venus returning to your sign is brilliant to give yourself some kind of reboot when it comes to your personal appearance. It will make you feel better, but don't underestimate just how charismatically you can draw people to you over the next 26 days. And if there has been a stumble around a relationship, or you have been feeling a little bit lower in spirits because of the collective energy in the tender 12th house. This joining up with Mercury and the North Node and set to be supplemented by the Sun on the 18th is all going to reinvigorate you. But if you are moving on from a relationship which hasn't worked, just know this is a celestial line in the sand. By the time you get to the end of this particular transit, there can definitely be new interest in you. In fact, it could be more than one person that finds you absolutely mesmerizing.